All right, yo, we are live. We are live. First live of the new year, man. Happy 2026. What's good, everybody? Basically came to recap the two main events, and we're gonna talk a little bit more. What else is going on in boxing? Um, Definitely got a lot of content to do. Definitely got some fights coming up. All right. If you are new, subscribe to the channel, please, and hit that thumbs up for me real quick. You are if you are watching, all six of you. Where's everybody at today? I understand it's a Monday, it's a 2 in the afternoon, but I just wanted to come live because it's been a minute. It's been a few weeks since I've been live. I haven't been live since the new year. All right. But what's going on? I hope everyone's having a good day. If you are listening, um, let's talk. Let's start out with let's start out with Ajit Kabayel. He picked up 3-round TKO win against Damian Kanimba from Poland. All right, undefeated fighter, kind of green, 17 wins, 11 knockouts. Doesn't have any real notable names. I did see him fight on the undercard of Danny Garcia? I seen him the Joey DeWaco fight. I seen him fight on the undercard against Joey DeWaco. When this fight was announced, I figured it was like a stay busy fight. But when you see a guy with an undefeated record like that, you got to wonder, like, all right, like, let me go check this guy out, because we already know that, you know, I think that Ajit Kabayel is a top 3 heavyweight, and he's been a top 3 heavyweight for at least the last year. He's coming off 3 really, really good wins going into this fight here. And this fight, not saying this guy Kanimba is not good, because I actually think he is good. But, at this point, at this stage, fight was just a little too soon for him, and stylistically, even though he did really well in the first round, you just can't sustain that kind of pressure by just simply just moving. You need to have some inside game when you're dealing with a guy like Ajit Kabayel. But yo, before we get into the fight itself, let me say something real quick. All right. Before we get into the actual fight, Germany. Germany is on the list of places I need to go and watch that fight. Like, go watch a fight. Um, from what I heard, it was 13,000 people there. All right. 13,000 people in attendance. That place looked packed. It was so loud that I couldn't even hear anything else that was going on. The crowd was so amped up. Crazy. I mean, even compared to America and to certain places in America and certain fights, I can't compare anything to that. That was the loudest. The energy in that crowd was crazy. And you immediately had fighters out there like Philip Hergovich that was like he was willing to come to Germany and fight Ajit Kabayel. Kabayel called out Usyk at the end, saying, come to Germany and fight. Listen, that crowd in Germany is serious, legit. I mean, only if we got half of that energy in a Saudi Arabia fight. I mean, it felt like I was there, you know? So shout out to Germany. Shout out to Ajit Kabayel, because he has a following, yo. Um, and I think it's always great for a guy to go back to his hometown, or whatever country he's from, or whatever city he's from, or whatever state, or whatever part of the world you're from. It's always good that when you build a good enough name or reputation to go back home and fight at home, at some point. But I think at the end of the day, uh, this crowd, Germany specifically, is up there. If he can pack that, and they're talking about a stadium fight. They're talking about a stadium fight, a potential stadium fight next, which is wild. All right. So I think that's definitely an opportunity for anybody in heavyweight. If you are a heavyweight fighter, and Kabayel, at least in Germany, I don't know about everywhere else in the rest of the world, but at least in Germany, He's definitely a name, and you're definitely going to make some money fighting in Germany. And they're talking about stadium. So if they're talking about stadium and filling up a stadium for one of his fights, I believe they could fill up a stadium after seeing that crowd. You know, 13,000 fully energetic Germans out there. I mean, you can't lose with that. All right. So shout out to him. Now, as far as the fight is concerned, um, uh, Damian Kanimba, tall, Polish, rangy fighter. He had an excellent first round. You know what this fight reminded me of? This fight reminded me of uh Nate Gorman against Fabio Wardley. This is the exact, this is a perfect identical fight to that fight. Gorman against Wardley. Gorman is starting out better. He's outboxing Wardley. He's hitting him with good shots. His timing, everything was just cleaner the first round or two. Then out of nowhere, Wardley gets pissed off and he just destroys this dude. I think that fight was 3 rounds too. For a 3 round fight, that was a very, very good fight. Let me just double check to make sure it was only 3 rounds because this fight reminds me of that. Kanimba, Nate Gorman. Yeah, it's only a 3 round fight. All right. And then at some point in this fight, Kabayel wakes up in the second round. All right. Started hitting them, finishes the second round stronger. But Kanimba was doing good work. It's just that, especially in the first round, Kanimba was clean all the way through. I mean, he even managed to cut Kabayel. I was a little bit concerned because I'm like, oh, I hope this is not one of those situations where you're fighting him back at home. And you go back home, you have your home warming, your house warming type of thing, and your homecoming. That's what I meant to say. Your homecoming kind of fight, and now you're fighting a guy that you're expected to be, but he ends up outboxing you or whatever the situation is going to be. And it looked like that in the first round, but it's only the first round. You know, we knew that Caballero was going to pressure him, but we've seen Kabayel hurt before. We've seen him down before. And he was taking a lot of hits in the first round, unnecessary hits. I just think he was being a little bit overly aggressive when I was watching the first in real time. But in the second round, like halfway through that second round, I can tell that Kanimba was getting burnt out, and it wasn't as much. The punches were a lot less heavy in the second round. You can tell he started to show some fatigue there, and that's when you know Caballero started to land some really heavy shots, especially to the body as well. And then the third round came, and he just finished them off. Now, this is the problem with this fight: the stoppage. The stoppage was premature. I mean, yes, Kanimba was taking some hard shots, but I think the viewers, especially the people that went and paid to see this fight, they were robbed of a good knockout. They were robbed of a good knockout. I think it was just too soon. Was it going to happen? Yes, probably, most likely, probably the very next round. I think Kanimba, I think he probably could have made it to the next round. I think this happened towards the end of the third round, and I think the viewers and the fans were robbed of a good knockout because it was coming. But the guy stood tall. He was taking the shots. I mean, in my opinion, it was just too soon. It was just too soon. But I believe it was going to happen. But there are a lot of fights where guys are hurt and they're hurt. They look like they're about to get finished off, and then out of nowhere they land a huge punch, and now they're back in the fight, or they're dropping their opponent. It happens all the time. We see it all the time. So, in my opinion, yes, the fight was stopped prematurely. It was an excellent fight for the 3 rounds that it lasted, but it was premature stoppage for sure. Now, what happens next? Well, Kabayel is the WBC interim champion, and I think he's more than deserving of fighting for a title. Usyk is going to be fighting Deontay Wilder next. That's what it's looking like. So, um, what I would like to see is a fight between him and Fabio Wardley, but it looks like Wardley is going to probably be fighting like a Triple D or something like that. Um, I just don't think Worley. I think if the right thing to do right now is while Usyk is fighting Deontay Wilder, I think the right thing to do would be put Fabio Worley in there with Ajit Kabayel, and the winner takes Usyk. I think that's the best way to do it. You know what I mean? Because Wardley and Kabayel are the two best fighters at heavyweight division right now. The most proven fighters at heavyweight that is not Alexander Usyk is Fabio Wardley and Ajit Kabayel. No debating. At this point, is no debating. It's those two. Now, there's guys with other names, bigger names like Joseph Parker. There's guys like Triple D. So I can understand why Wardley or his promoter may want to put him in there with a Triple D or in there with Joseph Parker or well, he already beat Joseph Parker, but I can understand that type of thing. But to be honest, man, I am kind of tired. And when it comes to Triple D, I have nothing against the guy. He's a good fighter. That AJ knockout was crazy the other year. But look, his turnaround to getting the title shot is so quick. He loses a fight. All he needs to do is get one quick fight in there or two, and he's always right back to a title shot. I don't want to see a third Usyk fight. Like, I know if he happens to beat Fabio Wardley, he's gonna get another opportunity that quickly. And I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see that. I want to see Triple D take a few tough fights like Worley has done or like Kabayel has done. You know, I want to see that guy actually work his way up a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that they all have to be, top five guys, but I would like him to fight maybe a top 20 guy or two, and then fight, a top five guy before or maybe getting before getting to another title shot. It's just been too much with Triple D and getting quick title shots, because again, and I say this all the time, there's guys like Joe Joyce, who did much more and still couldn't get a title shot, and I think that's happening to Ajit Kabayel right now. Guys like Joyce, guy like Kabayel, those guys did much more resume wise before getting an actual title shot. And I think some of the other guys that got one, you know, they took losses. They just did less, and again, Triple D beating AJ was huge. It was huge. Um, but I'm talking about what he was doing previous to that, and working his way to another title shot. He had lost to Joyce. Um, he had lost to Joyce. I think he lost to Usyk, and then got AJ out of there and then got another Usyk shot. He beat Trevor Bryan to get that like bullshit WBA thing, junior title, uh, which is the worst title known to man. Yeah, I just want to see a little bit more. What's up, Alexander? Alexandero was good. He said that's why Moses is taking his time because they want to rush him, and I like that. And you know what? Like I said in a previous video, or I think it was the 2026 video, which I was basically saying what fights I want to see. I like the two fights that Moses have coming up. Right? I like the fight. I like the fight with Jermaine Franklin simply because I think Franklin for this fight will be in better shape than he was in his most recent fight. He's durable. He's been durable at this point. I see it less likely that Franklin goes out the way like Dillian White did recently. Like I don't see it happening that way. I think Moses was probably going to have to go the rounds, and I know Moses, had step up fights already, which ended very quickly. Um, when I looked at the Dillian White was supposed to be a good fight, and the Dempsey McKean fight was supposed to be a good test. Those were supposed to be good tests. Dillian White was way past it, but like Kell Brook did with Terrence Crawford, he ended up getting into the best shape that he could at this stage in his career. Was it enough? No, it wasn't enough. Regardless, it wasn't enough. But at the end of the day, um, those fights were supposed to be more difficult fights for Moses. Now, Jermaine Franklin, I'm sorry, is the guy that fought Dillian White, who I think might have edged out Dillian White in that fight. Dillian won, I think a close, a majority of decision. I think that fight at the very least was a draw. I don't think Dillian won that fight, but that fight was some years ago. Dillian is definitely washed up at this point. All right, but I like this Jermaine Franklin fight, and if he gets through Jermaine Franklin, and I'm expecting him to go some rounds with him, I think the Lawrence Okolie fight is a very good fight and a very dangerous fight. I don't think Okolie is the most durable fighter. Obviously, he's limited on the inside, likes to tie up on the inside, doesn't really do much on the inside. But Okolie seems very comfortable as a heavyweight. He's a really, really big guy. He's a big dude, you know. And one thing about him, I think he's very limited, but he's excellent at what he does. As far as that 1-2, that jab and that 1-2, it's very hard to get past. And if he clips you with a right cross, it's hard. But fights are not the prettiest fights. They never been the prettiest fights to me, and I would like to see stylistically what Moses does in that kind of fight. All right. Alan says, I don't see an issue with Dubois getting another shot in a world with Ryan Garcia getting a shot. And that, yeah. But I don't want to use Ryan Garcia as an example. All right, because one person doing it, then the next person is doing it, and it becomes all bad. And right now, we're trying to, as viewers of the sport, we don't want this to be common. What's happened to Ryan Garcia is a tragedy. But I'm not going to sit here and say that because Ryan is doing it, Dubois should do it too. No, there are other options out there at heavyweight. There's guys that's more deserving of a title shot or a fight with Usyk than Daniel Dubois. I know Ryan is one of those guys that can do whatever he wants. He can miss weight. He can get knocked out. He can put on bad performances like he did against Rolly. He can go on racial rants. He can do whatever he wants. He could be a coked up, drugged up, whatever. I don't know if he's on coke. Let me not say that. But he can be whatever. You know what I mean? He can do as much wrong that any other fighter has done, right? And he can still get opportunities to fight for a world title like he is about to right now. So he's the only exception. I don't want to make other exceptions for fighters that don't deserve it. Again, all I want to see Triple D do is work his way back up. Okay. He's been stopped in all of his losses. Okay. He's an excellent fighter, but he's been stopped. We don't want to just keep giving him title shots without really going through it. You know what I'm saying? He's still young. He's still in his 20s. Okay. He still has a lot of time to not only improve because he's going to be with a different coach, but he has a lot of time career-wise. He lost to Usyk and Joyce. He hasn't lost to any of these young guys yet. So we don't know what he can really do against a Wardley or Kabayel or we don't know what he's going to do if he fights Moses Atama. He might beat all of these guys. What's up, Pepino? He says, I want to see Bacoli back in the picture. I do too, but I want him to get in shape and take his fitness serious. You know, I do watch him on Instagram. You know, I see him training from time to time. I just want him to get back in real shape. You know, he should be weighing around 280. You know, I'll take Bacoli seriously. You know, the next time he fights, and if he's fighting someone good, I'm gonna do my breakdown after the weigh-in. I'm being dead serious. I'm being dead serious right now. I am not doing a Martin Bacoli breakdown until after the weigh-in because that's all that matters to me. Because I know what he's capable of doing. Um, but when he's overweight, when you're 310 to 320, you know, what 330 or whatever it is, you know, and it's not his fault what happened with Joseph Parker. It was a last minute call. He jumped on the opportunity to do it. A lot of people blame his coach for it, fine. But he jumped on an opportunity. He saw an opportunity and he took it. But the FA Jogba performance, there's no excuse for that. You have to be fit with your style. If you're an aggressive volume puncher, you have to be in good fitness. Okay. All that extra weight that he came in with went straight to the stomach. So when he's heavier, it's heavier in the midsection, nothing else. You know, that's not muscle weight. That's all fat in the stomach. So I am not doing another breakdown of Martin McCauley until after the weigh, because the weigh-in is where it matters to me. All right. Mr. DL, he says, Wagwan, Boxingwave, love the consistency. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate that. He says, Okoli is a horrible watch. Yeah, yeah, Okoli is difficult to watch when he has to deal with someone that's being aggressive and closing distance on him. It's not every fight though, you know. But I get what you're saying. You know, everybody complains about him. You know, I like him. I like him. I do like him. I do like Lawrence Okoli. Um, but he has pissed me off in certain fights. He has definitely, definitely. He says Okoli makes Vlad look like a mover. uh Reactions and opinions says Sabril should fight that funny dude that fought Broner for the comeback fight. Oh, you talking about this kid that acts like the Flair uh what's his name? The Flair uh I forgot his name. I always forget his name too. I really do. Always forget this guy's name. Blair Cobbs. Blair the Flair Cobbs. Yeah, you know what? Blair Cobbs need to have more fights because he started late. Oh no, he didn't start late. He started in 2013. So he didn't start late. But we didn't start knowing who he was until he started having like a social media presence, right? So we didn't start knowing him until like the 2020s, 2019, 2020s, right? He started randomly calling out all of these top welterweights, and then um he started calling out these welterweights and people like, who are you? You know, and then he fought Alexis Rocha and lost, but then he had a good win against Maurice Hooker, who was a former champion. That was a good win. And then he beat Adrian Broner. He had one fight since then, but I mean, the guy was a 9 and with a losing record. Yeah, he needs to get back in the ring. All right. So to close out the Ajit Kabayel situation, again, tune-up fight against a guy that was too green to really stand a chance. Again, excellent round for Kanimba, first round, but that's all we got from him. Nothing changes with Kabayel. All I know is that he's a superstar. He's a megastar in Germany. You know, Germany is definitely on the list of places I need to visit to see a boxing match. I need to visit Germany, period, because I've heard great things about Germany, but definitely would love that energy. I'm all good. I'm good. I'm all good with a good time, a, a good crowd at a fight. I hate a dead crowd. I hate a dead crowd. I hate a dead crowd when I'm watching it on television. I hate a dead crowd when I am at a fight, especially when the crowd just don't appreciate a good fight. So when I saw that energy, I heard that energy out there. I thought it was dope. All right. But yeah, all I want to see from Kabayel at this point, if he can't, obviously Usyk is going to be fighting Wilder, probably fighting Wilder. So if he can't get Usyk, and if he can't get Wortley, I like. Let's see. I like Gassiev is more like realistic because they're in the same sanctioning body, I believe. Gassiev, I don't really like that fight, to be honest. Gassiev is a guy that I just don't understand how he's ranked so highly as a heavyweight. Seriously, you know. I mean, I don't see why. I mean, him and Pulev and whatever was going on over there, I just can't. You can't justify his. I mean, since he lost to Usyk and as a cruiser, what the hell has he really done? Because he is great at knocking guys out, journeymen out. He lost to Otto Wallin. And since then, he KO'd a couple guys that no one cared about. And then he knocks out Pulev, who's way past it. But whatever. He's ranked very high for whatever reason. So I would like to see Kabayel against Filip Hrgović, man. If he can't get Usyk and he can't get Wardley, I think the number one fight right now for Kabayel is Hrgović. I like that fight more than any other fight. I would love to see Martin Bakole, but I need Martin Bakole to be in shape. If Kabayel can get a fight with Bakole and Bakole can train his ass off and get back down to 280, then that's an excellent fight. That's an excellent fight if the guy can get in shape. All right, so that's it. Let's talk about a little bit more about what's this other fight that happened? Dalton Smith and Sabril Matias. Shout out to everyone that saw the video yesterday. Shout out to anyone that saw the breakdown. All right. Please hit the thumbs up. If you guys, everyone that's here, if you guys can do me a favor and hit the thumbs up for me real quick. All right. Small crowd today, but if everybody can hit the thumbs up, appreciate that. I don't have much more to say about Dalton Smith. I did read your comments. A lot of people feel that PEDs might have something to do with it. I know Sabril Matias did pop. All right, but he got cleared because it was like the amount was way too low. It was way too low. Like it was like 0.1, whatever. I read the reports. People are saying that it might have something to do with that. His performance might have something to do with that. Also, some people, the glove, there was like a little glove situation prior to the fight. That might have been part of it too. So this is what happens when you pop. People start questioning everything. You know what I mean? People start questioning anything. And you know what? I can't blame people because you might have you might been too low to get stripped as far as the amount of what was the drug? Was it aspirin? I think it was. You might have been told too low, like Ryan popped for way many more times more than whatever Sabril Matias is, but he might have been flushing it out. It might have been at the right time. I don't know, but what happens when it comes up? People will never forget. It never goes away, even when you're cleared. It's no different from Jaime Magia. Jaime Magia pops for Bruno Sarase rematch because he won the rematch, right? So the drug tests come back, and then down the line, like later, I don't know if it weeks, I don't know if it was months, we found that Jaime Munguia is clear, and that's what happens. Now people are gonna question everything. It doesn't matter if they clear you. People are gonna bring it up. And I've been seeing comments. I've been reading comments on that. I've been reading comments about the glove situation. All right. There's a little glove situation before the fight. So now people are putting you in a place where they believe you're a cheater. Right. Because there's just too many little things that people don't like. I can't blame him for killing a man in the ring because I don't think anybody wants to actually kill a guy, regardless of fighters that said that they wanted to kill guy. Like, I think Deontay Wilder said it, I think Mike Tyson said it. I think even Anthony Joshua recently said something like that. But I don't think he was intentionally trying to unalive him. I just think that he passed. He took too much damage. And it happens throughout the year. You know, a lot of guys, a few guys a year pass away. Some guys go into comas. You know what I mean? Have brain bleeds and shit. I don't think it was intentional. All right. But Sabrina Matias is going to take the heat. Me personally, I'm going to just stick to the facts. And the facts are he got his ass kicked. His defense was poor. His defense has always been poor. But let's talk about the fact that his durability is taking a dive. I was wrong on the pick. I was wrong on the final prediction, but everything that I said had made sense. About Alberto Puello put a lot of damage. That's why I'm concerned about guys like Abdullah Mason taking that much punishment in their first big fight. Unnecessary punishment. Him and Sam Noakes. Because you might not be the same for too long. When you're going to do wars like that, it's going to catch up to you. Sabrina Matias, what is he, 33? I mean, he's been in so many wars. Like even all his wins against Ergashev and Ponce and all those other guys he beat over the years. Like, you're going against a ring with another puncher, all right? A known puncher, and you walking in with your hands down. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you are not the Terminator. You're gonna get clipped at some point. You know what I mean? Like, keep your hands up. If you're waiting to ambush your opponent and you're trying to gas them out, and if you're walking for them and you want them to get tired just from punching you, at least keep your hands up, bro. Parry some of them shots, like slip a little bit, like do something. You just taking them all. You're taking all the punches on your way in. You're taking jabs, crosses, hooks. You're taking everything, and then you're getting countered in between the punches you're throwing. It was just too much. So people can talk about maybe him cheating and him being on something. I mean, okay, yeah, maybe, but what I know is what I see in the ring, and what I see in the ring is a guy that looked very sloppy to me. Looked sloppy, and he took too much damage. His face always swells up like that, with each and every fight. And by the fifth round, I said this yesterday. I said by the third round, these two look like they were already in a 12-round fight. And this is why I got to give Dalton Smith credit, because he did things that I've seen him do, or other fighters have done. Liam Paro did. Liam Paro, what's the other guy's name? Like Liam Paro and Ergashev. He did a mix of what they both did. Ergashev came out aggressive, heavy-handed, but he didn't have the cardio to maintain it. He gave him a first 3 rounds, but I remember in that fight, I think by the third round, fourth round, the dude was clearly tired. And now you're forced to just defend yourself. Your power is gone. So he did a little bit of what Ergashev was doing, where he started out fast, but he was doing what Liam Paro was doing as well, by using that movement and smothering his punches and stuff like that, tying up, a little bit of framing, a little bit, all those old tricks to just to neutralize your opponent. He was doing a little bit about that too. But the thing is with Dalton Smith is that he had the durability to hang in there, and he had the cardio to keep punching heavy round by round. He wasn't like Ergashev, who just punched himself out by the 3 rounds. You know what I mean? Ponce, that guy too. That guy was going to war. He was throwing a whole bunch of punches with Matias. These guys are clobbering each other. But by the third, fourth round, he was already punched out. Dalton Smith, for whatever reason, man, he found a way to maintain that same punch output with that same power to match it. And that's why I think right away, like that was one of the greatest performances we've seen in recent years at that division at 140. At 140, definitely one of the best performances we see. You know, so I think moving forward, you know, Dalton Smith, I just want to see him, you know, I mean, yo, you know, I mean, you perform like that, you deserve whatever you want. You know, I mean, he's a champion now, but now there's other guys out there, you know. Hey, you know what? Gary Anton Russell, not a guy that people are trying to fight. Go back to the UK. Have Eddie give him a call. Him and Gary Russell out in the UK, unification. You know, Gary can't get any of these dudes to fight him. He can't. He can't get any of these guys to fight him. Whether they're PBC, whether they're Matchroom, whatever, you know, whatever they are, he can't get anybody to fight him. You go to UK, give these guys a call, give Al a call, have a unification. Because apparently no one wants to fight him. You know? A Richardson Hitchens fight would probably be the easiest to make because Richardson Hitchens works with Eddie. You know, they had a little fallout recently, but now he's back working with him. You know, but you know, I mean, with Hitchens, you know, I don't know with Hitchens, man. Like, I don't know what's up with him. Like, he do too much social media talking for me. I need him to really get a good fight in. You know, I need to see him get a really good fight at some point. You know, all the face off and the back and forth, it's cool. It's cool, but I'm tired of it, bro. I'm being dead serious. I like Hitchens. I've been watching him for years, but I'm really tired of you know, these fights that we've been getting. Also, Adam Azim, what's up with that? There was a situation where these guys were supposed to fight each other. I think Adam Azim, I don't know if he still is, was with Boxer. You know, Adam Azim is kind of like under the radar, at least over here. Maybe not in the UK. I would like to see that fight. You know, it's not a unification, but you know, I know Adam Azim is ranked pretty high. He's actually fighting Limos at the Gustavo Limos at the end of the month, which is a pretty good fight. Um, Not a bad fight. I mean, let me say it's not a pretty good fight. It's not a bad fight. You know, but he's clearly moving up a little slower than Dalton Smith is. But this is a fight I still want to see. I mean, Azim had recently beat Kurt Scooby. He beat Sergey Limpinets. All right, you know, I saw the Ohio Davis fight, good win. You know, he's beating up some good people, but you know, hopefully, you know. No, Catterall's at 147. Catterall's at 147. You know. Yeah, man. I heard that. I heard Hitchens say that. Hitchens said that his next opponent is going to be Oscar Duarte. Again, it's not a bad fight, but bro, like, I want you to be in a really, real, like, dangerous fight, man. Like, you know, it's like I want to see you. Hey, Duarte is cool, man. He's cool. Like, you know, that's a cool fight, you know, but it's like, all right, you know, like, okay. Just another fight, you know? Like I want him to step up, man. I want him to fight someone that's a little dangerous. You know, 140, 140, we've had, 140 has always been good, especially in the last couple decades. The Amir Khan, Tim Bradley, you know, Lamont Peterson era was good. You know, not all of those guys fought each other, but a lot of them did. You know, the Tim Bradley era. I mean, I said Tim Bradley already. The Danny Garcia time there was good. Um, the Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis time was excellent. Crawford came in the middle of that, like because Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor took over right after Bud moved up. But Bud cleaned up everybody that was top there, like Victor Postal. For Postal was there when Danny Garcia was there. But for the most part, 140 has been a division where most of the top guys fight each other. Where I think some of these guys are dipping in from 135 type of thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't like the direction that 140 is going right now. I think it's too much talent for the guys to not be fighting each other. You know, so hopefully we get that in 2026 because there's a lot of talent here. Unlike like divisions like 160, for example, there's not a lot of talent there. So in that division there, all I want to see is unification because there's not that many good fighters there, you know. But at 140, there's no excuse. You guys that's at 140, that's been there for a long time. You got guys that's moved up from 135, and you got names, you got all kind of stuff there at 140. Um, well, the energy is going to be good for New York, for T.O. and Shakur. All right, but and I will do a breakdown on that fight. But it's going to be a chess match, so I'm just letting you guys know. It's going to start slow. Okay, that fight for the first half of the fight is going to be a slow fight. It's going to be a lot of waiting to counter. you know, um, but I will do a breakdown. I think the second half of the fight could be a lot different. But I think the first half of that fight, I think the both of them are going to be extremely cautious. All right. A lot of jabs. A lot of jabs. Not a lot of heavy punches early. Just my opinion. Yeah. I seen a sparring fight. It's gonna be like that. I mean, it's an old sparring video, but it's an old sparring video. But when these guys fight, when you're fighting someone at that level, you're gonna be cautious. Because T.O., in my opinion, has a tougher resume up to this point, but he understands who he's fighting for this fight. You're gonna get the best T.O., and you're gonna get the best Shakur. Can't wait to do the breakdown. I'm gonna do a breakdown soon. Real soon. Um, all right. So yeah, when it comes to Dalton Smith, I mean, at this point, I just want him to unify. And when it comes to Matias, I don't know. I think Matias, now that the chin's been cracked, and I've seen a couple comments you guys said in the comments, um, a lot of people are just writing him off already. A lot of people are writing him off. I'm gonna tell you, Matias without a good chin is not that good. He's not. I would have to agree to that. He's not that good without a good chin. He's not that good. He needs a tough chin with his style. And now that he's been stopped, I think other fighters are gonna be more willing to engage with him early. You know what I mean? Especially punchers. You know, um, there's some people he still can probably beat. All right, but there are gonna be people out there that's gonna be wanting to try to test his jaw. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but yeah, good win for Dalton Smith. And I made a mistake. I said something about Dalton Smith being like one of the only two. I forgot about Fabio Worley and There's a few champions out there. I'm British champions. I'm bugging. I'm bugging. I just forgot a few of them, but yeah, there's a few champions out there from the UK that's active right now. Speaking on that, I'm gonna make a video on this, but since we're here and a few of y'all are here, let's talk about it. Virgil Ortiz Jr., Oscar De La Hoya, Jerron Boots Ennis, Eddie Hearn. This shit that's going on this week sounds like pre-Turkey Al Sheik boxing. This sounds like this percentage thing that's going back and forth with that. This sounds so 2019 to me. You know, I got one promoter saying it's 50-50. You got the other one saying 60-40. They're trying to sabotage this fight. And I'm talking about Oscar De La Hoya. Yes, Amir, I agree. This guy, Oscar, is known for this. He's always been like this with his fighter. He is an opportunist. He likes to pick the right. The one thing about Oscar is knowing when the right time is fighter, right? The fighter. And you know, I saw this with, you know, I can give a plenty of examples, but recently, even recently, as recent as Shakur Stevenson, when Shakur looked terrible against Edwin De Los Santos, he was all in for the Williams Zepeda fight. At first, he wasn't, but he saw the De Los Santos fight and he was all in. And then after that, when Shakur came back and won the next fight, he was backing out again. Oscar is an opportunity. He protects his fighters by any means necessary. And now he's going 60-40. Winner gets 5%. And that's where they're standing at. And the deadline is supposed to be either today or tomorrow or something like that. Yeah, Lewis Carter too. Yeah, I forgot about him. This is the way I look at it. There was a point where an offer was made for Boots to fight Virgil Ortiz that he turned it down. There was. So I didn't forget about that. So even though Boots won it bad now and Eddie and they're putting the pressure on Virgil, understand that there was a point where Virgil wanted to fight and they didn't take the fight. Now, I don't know if they would have been fully invested in going there. You saying you want the fight. I don't know if it would have worked out anyway, because they still have to actually negotiate. But as far as Eddie Hearn is saying that you guys are already agreed to a 50-50, you know, with 5% the winner going to the winner. All right. So you guys already agreed on that. So now why did you guys change it to 60-40 for Virgil and 5% going to the winner? All I know is this. This should go based on how bad does Boots want it. All right. I believe the fight does better numbers depending, you know, as far as the gate. It does better numbers on for that fighter depending on where is it at, because Boots is going to sell out in Philly, but in Texas, Virgil is probably going to sell out better there. People are going to probably come out more there for him. Maybe even Vegas, maybe even in LA. You know, it is. If the fight were to happen in Philly or New York, I would expect a lot of Boots supporters to be the majority. I would expect that. Now, at the end of the day, it is still one of the biggest fights out here. But what I'm trying to avoid, or I think what I hope doesn't happen, is just become another 5-year buildup. Because if we're being honest, this has already been a buildup. This has been already a buildup. If this is a 5-year buildup, we're at least in year 3, right? Because these guys have been they've been viral rivals for some years now. I've been talking about Boots and Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz has been a welterweight since like 2020. Let me see. Yeah, Virgil been a welterweight since 2019. Mauricio Herrera. At this time, him and Boots are beating the same level of fighters at this time, making content on these two. But they were underneath Bud, Crawford, and Spence. But this fight was building up already. We're already in year 5. We're already in year 5. Wait, what are we doing? The fight is time, is ripe enough. We cannot allow this fight to go any further. Boots, in my opinion, I'm not going to tell him what he should do. But if I was him, and you're as confident as you seem now going into this fight, I will call his bluff and take the fight. 60-40, 5% going to you. I would take it. I would take it. You know, if this was like a 70-30 kind of thing, 65-35 kind of thing, maybe that's a little too much. You know, um, I think I've seen people on X, on Twitter, doing all the numbers breakdown, like who sold this more and like who sold this much more tickets here. Obviously Virgil's never been a champion. Boots has been unified, but I'll admit Virgil has fought the better fighters, the bigger names and stuff like that. Well, no, I don't want to say bigger names, but more recognizable names or whatever. I don't think any of that matter. I think the two of them are aligned together, and I don't think either one of them. Like Oscar sits back and talk like some shit, like, "Oh, he got other options." Well, Boots has other options too. He doesn't have to fight Virgil, but you two need each other. It's like Spence and Crawford. There's no other fight that you can get in that would be bigger at this point. That was around at or around welterweight. There was no other fight. There's no other bigger fight for Spence and Bud at that time. So in this situation here, Virgil, your biggest fight would be against Boots. There's only one person. Even the Mexican boxing fans are like, bro, what are you doing? Why are you calling out Errol Spence? This is the fight, not Errol Spence right now. It's not. We haven't seen Errol fight in years. There is no bigger fight for Virgil Ortiz. The biggest fight is Jerron Boots Ennis. There's nobody at 54 that would be a bigger fight right now. And that's respectfully, like Xander Zayas, Fondora, Madrimov, either champions, even Keith Thurman, old guys like him. There's no names there that stands out more than Jerron Ennis right now. Papino said Oscar will change it higher. Boots agree. Yeah, I call his bluff. Call his bluff. All right, we'll take the 60-40. I win. I get the extra 5%. Cool. Do it. Do it. Make it happen. And then you beat him. If he beats him, I'm leaning towards Boots. I've been back and forth. I think at one point years ago, I was leaning toward Virgil because Virgil to me was doing a little bit better with the opponents. But I've been back and forth. But Boots, the last few years, to me, would beat him. And they both had their fights where they didn't look that great. Boots definitely had his couple fights But I think Boots beats him. And I think Oscar is worried about it. In fact, I think the way Oscar and Virgil is moving and talking right now, I don't think they're confident that Virgil's gonna win. They can say, "Oh, this is business" and stuff like that. I don't think so. I'm not feeling all that. I think I watched Oscar long enough now. The problem is with Oscar, he does way too many interviews. He does a lot of tweeting, you know. He's contradicts himself all the time, you know. No, there is no other option that is bigger than this option. This is the best option, you know. So Virgil calling out Errol, that was a bad look. That was a bad. And let me tell you something. He let a lot of his boxing fans down when he said that. He let a lot of his boxing fans down because a guy came in the ring and called you out to your face. This is no Twitter call out. He came in the ring, came to your event. He called you out in your face. You talking about, oh yeah, but what about this time? Like, nah, nah, nah. We want to fight now. So if I was Boots, make it happen. Because these 5-year buildups, man, you guys mess around and get clipped by someone trying to. We saw what just happened to Junto Nakatani. Mess around, lose on your way there. Like, and then we're gonna be talking about, oh, this guy, oh, he lost, he got stopped by this guy, he's not the same. I don't want to hear that. You guys already been building up the fight. We're already on a 5-year buildup. This was the fight for you two. This is your direct rival. This is the 5-year buildup. So make it happen. We don't need to wait any longer. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Errol Spence is retired. Any of these guys that say they're retired or they taking a beating and they're not, doing anything, there's no fights going on or something, you're retired until you return. You are retired until you return. The same thing with Tyson Fury. I know Fury's always retired. He retires, come back. When you're retired, you retire until you return. You know, Errol is retired. This guy is with his family. He's on social media posting. They'll show him. He'll show himself in the gym every now and then. It's cool that he's staying healthy. He's staying in shape, which is a good thing. But the man needs a tune-up. I know Mr. Tune-up says I don't do tune-ups. No, you need a tune-up. You might need a couple of them. I like Errol against the Keith Thurmans. Make that. Another guy that's inactive just like you are. I don't want to see Errol and no Virgil Ortiz in 2026 first fight back. That's crazy. What are you doing? Even as Virgil, don't you want to fight a guy at his best? Talking about that's a dream fight for you. You want to fight this version of I don't know, Virgil. You know, Virgil. I I said on here at one point he was my favorite active Mexican fighter, Mexican of someone of Mexican descent fighter, active fighter. I don't know, like the way he's talking recently, it's just like he's a completely different person. I would never have thought he was like this. Now I called him out on his low key ducks that he did with Crawford that no one wants to ever talk about. I've called him out on that. But I mean, for the most part, he gets in there, he boxes good, he gives us good wars. I'm never gonna get a boring Virgil Ortiz fight. But the way he's been talking and tweeting and stuff lately, I don't even know. Like he's like a different person, man. Like, what is it's just so weird. Like, yo, dude, like Boots have always been like, yo, him and his pops, like, I don't know what it is sometimes. Sometimes in certain interviews, they say certain things that's like, oh, whoa, 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 wait, what's going on? So this has always been flip-flopping controversial things that's been said from his camp. But for whatever reason, at this point, at this moment, Boots just seems like he's ready to go. All right. But Virgil, I don't know what's going on with that guy. I have no idea. That thing was so wild to me. I was like, you want to fight Arrow right now? That's crazy. No, I did not see that fight. I didn't see that fight. I didn't see that fight. What card was that on? Pepino. Hoops. I've been back and forth with that too. Prime Wilder against AJ. Wilder and AJ. Wilder, Prime Wilder to me was definitely up into the rematch with Fury. No, I'm not even gonna say that. I'm gonna say the third fight with Fury. I'm gonna say the third fight because I liked him in the third fight, even though he was heavy. He kind of got burned out quick. Um, Joshua was definitely before. I don't know. Anyway, let me just say, I'll say Joshua. I would say Joshua. I don't like Wilder's performances before the knockouts. That's my problem with Wilder. When I think of Prime Wilder, there's a lot of fights in there where he didn't get look good at all, and then he just magically knocked his opponent out. You know, I think if he had fought certain people earlier, then he probably wouldn't have been undefeated for as long as he was. You know, so I'm gonna say Joshua. It's just Wilder is just, I don't know. I don't know. Just beating Luis Ortiz, which is his best win, is just not enough. You know, it's not enough. I don't know about Tank, man. It's hard to talk about him. I've totally I'm just mentally drained from Tank, man. I don't know what Tank is doing. Like I seen a video of him acting like he's crossing over with the basketball. I don't know. Um, I can't talk about Tank until he come back and do something if he cares, because he talks about retirement too. You know what I mean? Pepino, I didn't watch the undercard. I didn't have time to watch it, but I'll check it out. I'll check it out. I'll put a note to look that up. All right. Oh, real quick before I get out of here, let me just bring up Hamza Shiraz and Diego Pacheco's going to purse bids. I told you guys I figured that fight was gonna happen. I did a 168 breakdown. I figured that was gonna happen. Hamza was ordered by two sanctioned bodies, one to fight Christian Mbili and the other to fight Diego Pacheco. I figured the Diego Pacheco fight was going to be the one. Um, I just think that both fights are hard, both fights are difficult, but they're completely different styles. And I see Hamza probably struggling against Mbili's style a little bit more. You know what I mean? I haven't seen Hamza in there with a really aggressive puncher yet. And I felt like Diego Pacheco is more known, especially here in America. So I figured that fight was gonna happen. All right. But it's going to purse bid. The fight is not set in stone yet. All right. Gotta see how the money, if they agree with the money and everything's good, then we'll get that fight. All right. But I figured Diego Pacheco and Hamza Shiraz would be next. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna get on out of here, guys. Y'all have a good day. Good to be back live. It's definitely going to make a separate video on Jerron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz. All right, but please subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up on your way out. Y'all have a good day, and I'll see you guys again soon. Peace.